What is up, guys? Shabnam here from Henry's, and welcome to another episode of Henry's Hands On, a segment where we get to take a look at some of the latest and greatest products for photography and video. And today, we have our finally long-awaited hands-on review of the Nikon D850. Now, safe to say, Nikon's totally delivered with this camera. We've been waiting a long time to see what they would have to do to one-up the legendary Nikon D810. But oh my God, they've done it. We're now getting a camera that's got spectacular resolution and speed to boot. So first things first, let's talk about that sensor that we've all been drooling over. As if 36 megapixel wasn't enough on the D810, with the D850, we're now getting that bump to 45.7 megapixel, which is crazy. And so far from all our tests, this sensor looks like it's a home run for Nikon. It provides unbelievable resolution, great colors, sharpness, and just outstanding detail in high dynamic range situations. And with this camera's base ISO of 64, that should make a lot of landscape photographers happy. Now, Nikon could have redone the sensor and just called it a day at that point, but they went over and above. What they did was they borrowed the autofocusing system from their flagship D5. So that means we're now getting 153 points of autofocus, which should lead to much better tracking capabilities and the ability to focus better in low light. Along with the autofocusing system, we're also now getting a huge increase in the overall speed of the camera as well. The D850 can now achieve 7 frames per second continuously, and when the optional battery grip is attached, it can do 9 frames per second. So for any wildlife or action photographers out there, this is going to be a huge bonus. Now, one thing that's missing from the D850 that might seem a little weird to you guys is that there's no more built-in pop-up flash in this camera. But fear not. With the freed up space, what Nikon has done now instead is they've upped the magnification on the viewfinder itself. So we're going from a 0.71 to a 0.75 times optical viewfinder, and that makes a huge difference. Because remember, the optical viewfinder is one of the best experiences of using a full DSLR camera like this. So now getting that larger field of view really helps benefit framing. Now, Nikon removing the pop-up flash also means one more thing. We're getting better weather sealing on top of this camera. So for anyone using the camera outdoors, this is an added bonus. Speaking of hardware, let's also talk about the redesigned grip on this camera. I'm a huge fan of it personally, because now we find that we can wrap our hands around the grip a lot better than we previously could with the Nikon D810. Along with the redesigned grip, we're also now getting a feature that we've been asking for a long time, and that's this tilt flip LCD. This should allow the user lots of creative freedom during high or low angle shooting when using live view. And we're also now getting touchscreen functionality on this camera as well. So when doing image review, you can simply pinch to zoom, or when you're using menus or selecting various functions in the camera, you can simply scroll along by using touch. Speaking of live view, let's talk about the video features of this camera for a bit, because we're getting some huge upgrades here compared to the D810. On the D850, we're getting full 4K video and 120 frames per second at 1080p for some gorgeous slow motion footage. We're also getting awesome new features for videographers, such as focus peaking and zebras. This should allow for much more accurate manual focusing and accurate exposure. Now, one thing to note, all these awesome new features that we're talking about, such as focus peaking and zebras, you're only able to use in 1080p and not 4K. So for serious videographers who need these features full time, maybe look into getting an external monitor or recorder option. Another great benefit to using a DSLR such as the Nikon D850 is outstanding battery life. With the included EL15A battery, we're now getting up to 1,840 shots, which should last you the whole day. And let's not forget about the optional battery grip, the MBD18. Along with the also optional EL18A battery, we're now getting up to a ridiculous 5,000 shots, which for any professional out there means this accessory is a must-have. I want to take a second here and talk about card slots. If you're upgrading from the Nikon D810, you'll be happy to know instead of compact flash, we're now dealing with XQD and UHS-2 SD cards. This will help in deal with the much higher resolution and speeds of the camera. XQD is also just a more robust format and helps eliminate the possibility of dealing with bent pins that used to be associated with older CF technology. Some cool new features worth mentioning are the new 8K time-lapse and silent live view shooting modes. The 8K time-lapse is just mind-boggling. When you've set your intervals and done your shooting, the camera can create an in-camera 4K video, or you can keep your full 45 megapixel resolution files and use third-party software to put it together. Combining that with the new silent live view shooting modes, it means you can get rid of a lot of vibrations and wear on the shutter. Okay, enough about specs. This camera's so fully loaded, we could talk about it all day. It's one of those cameras that needs to be used to understand just how great it is. The combination of the autofocusing speed, the sensor's resolution, and the great handling makes the D850 a camera that should appeal to a broad range of users. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this edition of Henry's Hands-On. For more info, check out our website and any one of our social media channels. If you have more questions, feel free to visit any one of our 26 Henry's locations across Canada, or leave your questions in the comments below. Until next time, this was Shadan from Henry's. Happy shooting, everyone.